Today's episode is going to be slightly special because on public demand, we have gotten Sudha with us. So, Sudha Gupta is the Chief Technical Officer of our company, and she is very humbly agreed to our request of being on this podcast. So, hello, Sudha. How are you doing?
Hi, Arath. I'm doing great. And thanks for having me over. This is my first opportunity as a podcast guest, but I'm quite excited to try this medium to connect with our large family at NAV.
That's amazing. And Sudha, although this podcast would focus greatly on your career and your role at NAV, we would like to also try to dig into something which all of us don't know much about already. So tell us something about, let's say, about your personal life, about your hobbies, so we could try and understand you a bit better.
I'm usually a quiet one, so you're right that not many people would know much about me. But I also have hobbies. Gardening or playing tennis after a long day at work is relaxing for me. I also enjoy spending time with family and friends, watching movies or sitcoms over the weekend. So now you know.
Oh, absolutely. And I would like to say that if any of our colleagues are interested in, let's say, gardening habits, so Sudha is the go-to person and not just the technology. So let's come on the main topic of our today's conversation. Your journey is the most important bit, and a lot of people have highlighted that. So you started from being a chartered accountant, and then you ended up being the chief technology officer. Share with us a brief timeline of how you made that transition from the chartered accountancy industry to technology industry within finance. How did this all happen?
Before I start, I would want to say that evolving with time is the most natural thing one should realize and embrace. When I was growing up, doing CA for me was the most viable option, but it started with a realization that technology is the backbone of the hedge fund industry and could potentially transform the finance industry. So, both financial and technical skills were extremely important when we started NAV in 1991. We were budget conscious, so I started taking care of most of the technical stuff, and I ended up creating our first computer network. I installed VPN and Exchange servers myself. We must all try to understand that crisis makes us creative. It's that simple. So back then, my weekend activities included taking apart old hardware down to the jumpers and cables to figure out what went wrong. All that fun stuff. It was better learning experience than any engineering class. It all started as a necessity, but then I quickly learned that I have a passion for technology, and that's when I dabbled in coding and programming courses, slowly building up my technical skills alongside my financial expertise. Writing initial code for trade recons and position generation for commodity fund clients was enlightening. It was quite satisfying to be able to generate the reports in 30 minutes with higher accuracy rather than 4 hours of manual labor. Eventually, this fusion of skills led me into the tech side of finance, where I could blend financial insights with tech innovations, shaping growth and efficiency at NAV. Actually, I believe we try to reflect agility as a part of ethos and our service as an organization.
Wow, that was quite a descriptive answer, something I would absolutely, I really enjoy them. And yes, indeed, I think one thing which highlights here was agility. And I mean, my second question would be much related to what you've already answered. But as someone who acted like a co-founder during the initial years of NAV, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced? And how did NAV evolve with time with respect to gender-bound roles? Because let's be honest, not many companies around us would imagine having a female CTO. But here you are.
So, Arat, I think your question has multiple layers. I like that, and I'll try to answer every layer in its own merit. Early days at NAV were a roller coaster, especially when I was wearing the co-founder hat. We had to focus on building credibility while also tackling our competition were real challenges. So we focused on customer service, quality and delivery. अब दूसरी बात करते हैं. जब भी कोई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन स्टार्टिंग फेज में होता है, तब आपके पास जेंडर बेस्ड रोल्स को सोचने का टाइम ही नहीं होता. I and Nav started this company, and with limited financial and human resources, we had to get going. Technology became my task, and I'm thankful this happened to me. So naturally, balanced gender representation within the organization, especially in tech roles, was not a top priority at that time. But having no structure also helped us. Like I said before, we prioritize agility and expertise. Now, as you mentioned, Aaron, it is true and rather unfortunate that the society and the conservative corporate structures discourage female participation in the tech industry. But let me also tell you, this is also making us women fight even harder for it. मैं कंपेयर नहीं कर रही हूँ, मगर आप जानकर हैरान होंगे कि फीमेल टेकीज अपने यूनिक पर्सपेक्टिव से एक टेक टीम में कितने नए आइडियाज ऐड करती है. Programming calls for creativity and problem solving skills. I think most women have these talents by default. But again, with time, we reflected and started structural changes by focusing on inclusive hiring and fostering a supportive workplace for everyone, especially women. आज मुझे बहुत खुशी है कि NAV में हमारी हर थर्ड कोलीग एक फीमेल है, पर फिर भी हम रुकने वाले नहीं हैं.
वाओ, बिल्कुल रुकना भी नहीं चाहिए. और इसी कारण से मुझे लगता है कि आज हमारी जो मार्केट में रेपुटेशन है उसका एक बहुत बड़ा श्रेय आप जैसे फीमेल लीडर्स को जाता है, आप जैसे लीडर्स को जाता है, who happen to also be female on the same time. Now, the next question would be, what is your mission for tech innovation at NAV based on your experience?
Agility and excellence. सही बताऊं तो हम कंटिन्यूअसली अपनी टेक्नोलॉजी को इवॉल्व कर रहे हैं, और यही वजह है कि हम अपनी इंडस्ट्री में टॉप पोजीशन पर बने हुए हैं. I believe that technology is the key to unlocking new avenues in finance. So, leveraging my experiences, I always go out of my way to lead initiatives embracing cutting-edge technologies like AI, blockchain, and in data analytics. In the end, I'm only focused on enhancing our products and customer experience constantly.
परफेक्ट. तो जो हमने अभी विजन की बात की, चलिए वो तो ठीक है, आई अंडरस्टैंड. ये विजन ही था जिस वजह से आज आपने जब ये कंपनी शुरू की और आज 30 साल, मोर देन 30 years नाउ, हम एक इस मुकाम पे पहुंच पाए हैं. मगर अब मुझे बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस की बात करनी है. So can you please share some best practices examples that you implemented at NAV Some of which could also be, let's say, from other companies, competitors, or some other industry best practices. So please share them with us.
Oh, plenty of such examples. Leadership training, continuous feedback loop through MASH, OKR and KRAs, daily Scrum meetings, hackathons, cross-functional teams, solution designing discussion, team building activities, etc. Inspired by other companies valuing continuous learning, we adopted practices like cross-functional teams and hackathons, fostering innovation and collaboration. I believe these practices fuel creativity and drive innovation across our departments.
So बाकी सब तो मुझे यहाँ समझ में आया, but for the sake of all other colleagues as well, like hackathon is something which I think I'd like you to expand a bit more on. तो आप प्लीज हमें थोड़ा explain कीजिए hackathons exactly क्या हैं और किस तरीके से हमारी कंपनी को मदद करते हैं.
So in hackathons, we come up with a problem statement with the actual problems in hand, which we have not been able to solve. And some of those are really complex in nature, some other challenges involved in it, whether it's our environment or technology or things like that. And then we publish that mission statement to all the teams, whoever wants to participate in it, and give them enough tools and liberty to solve the problem statement. And they come up with the solutions. And some of those has been really good solutions, unique ideas, and things like that. Out of that, outcomes are really innovative. And at the same time, team also enjoy it, solving those problems and using creativity there.
So, like you already mentioned, peer evaluation is also one of the industry best practice, which our company benefited from. And here in this question, I'd like you to focus on that specifically. That especially with respect to a fintech company who's ever evolving. What is exactly the role of peer consultation and peer learning in driving technological innovation?
Peer consultation is pivotal in our journey of technological innovation. Not just pivotal, but I would say it is also a primary requirement of a functioning team. I'm a big fan of horizontal learning. Brainstorming sessions among peers have been very successful in solving complex problems in our organization. Let me share some of my experiences. Last year, we experienced a major bank run in the US and Europe, where most of the big banks were at risk and billions of dollars were at stake for many of our clients. Our tech and accounting teams worked together as soon as we received the market briefing to devise a rapid solution. We assisted our clients in mitigating this huge risk by transferring bank accounts from higher risk to lower risk institutions using automated wire routings. Another recent one, at the onset of COVID-19 pandemic, we were not prepared to operate remotely. Our security and infra teams worked together to find a solution in a matter of days, ensuring that our operations were not disrupted. Here, I also want to share an interesting case study on collective intelligence by MIT, which is a leading global tech research university based in the US. It turns out that a group's collective intelligence is only moderately linked with the average individual intelligence of the people in the group. More significant factors include high levels of the social perceptiveness of the people in the group, equal group member participation, and a higher number of women in the group. This last factor about gender is largely related to social perceptiveness. Women on average score higher on social perceptiveness than men. But what you actually need is just having enough people in the group who are relatively high on the measure of social perceptiveness, irrespective of gender, to achieve this higher collective intelligence.
इंटरेस्टिंग। मगर आप ये इस केस स्टडी को एक एग्जांपल देकर समझा सकते हैं प्लीज?
बिल्कुल आ रहा है। मान लीजिए आप एक टीम में हैं और आपके सभी के सामने एक बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम या फिर चैलेंज आ गया है। साधारण मान्यता ये है कि एक टीम में सभी लोग बड़े एक्सपर्ट होने चाहिए, लॉजिकल होने चाहिए, हाईली इंटेलिजेंट होने चाहिए, वगैरह वगैरह। मगर MIT ने ये अपने रिसर्च में ये पाया कि एवरेज इंटेलिजेंस वाले लोग भी एक टीम में एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी करने की ताकत रखते हैं। सिर्फ कंडीशन ये है कि उनमें डाइवर्स ओपिनियन और एक्सपीरियंसेस होने चाहिए। सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर है सोशल परसेप्टिवनेस। जो फीमेल में ज्यादा होता है, और ये सोशल परसेप्टिवनेस एक टीम की कलेक्टिव इंटेलिजेंस में 4 चांद लगा देती है। और सोशल परसेप्टिवनेस का मतलब है the ability to recognize, ability to interpret, and ability to respond to social signals from those around you. So I'm very confident that we have a vast talent and brain power in our teams. I encourage everyone to tap into that by reaching out and collaborating more often.
Wow. So this was a very insightful part of the conversation, I would believe, क्योंकि of course मुझे एक तो ये स्टडी के बारे में मालूम नहीं था, और दूसरा जैसे आपने बोला कि हम सभी के अंदर एक यूनिक पर्सपेक्टिव होता है, और एक ग्रुप के अंदर जब हम सारे अपने यूनिक पर्सपेक्टिव्स को लेकर आते हैं, we are able to do extraordinary things. So very very supercharged, I would say। ये बात सुन के मैं काफी supercharged फील कर रहा हूँ। दूसरी बात करते हैं, what are your thoughts on the on-the-job training, and how do you encourage new joiners, especially, who are willing to transition into tech roles with the help of the on-the-job training, or like online MOOC certificate courses?
I'm a big believer in on-the-job training, especially when it's about transitioning folks into tech roles. Think about it. Isn't it so much simpler to know the ropes when you're right there on the ground doing the work than when you're listening to someone talk about it? Getting your hands dirty and dealing with real-time projects also speeds up skill building. It's like learning to ride a bike. You can read about it, talk about it all day, but you only really get the hang of it when you hop on and start pedaling, right? Same thing here. Newcomers can really get the hang of what the tech world feels like and how it moves and changes when they jump in and get their hands on real projects. And pairing these newcomers with old hands at the game, that's a winning ticket. As we have already discussed and seen, when a newbie and a veteran team up, it's a rich learning experience for the newcomer. Through hands-on guidance, they can avoid common mistakes faster and gain from veterans' years of experience. And let me tell you, this mentorship is not simply about guiding them, it's about empowering them, handing them the steering wheel and helping them navigate the tech world. And who knows, they might even come up with some brilliant innovation along the way. NAV is keen on building an environment that champions mentorship and on the job training for sure.
Well, one thing which is pretty clear by all your answers, I could see that you have a very unique perspective to things. And, when it comes to either management principles, when it comes to vision. And I think what I'm now very much interested to find out is like, what's your daily motivation? Like, when you come out of your bed every morning, what is that you envision that your day would be like? And then are you more of a, live day by day sort of person, one day at a time? Are you or someone who would have like a very fixed vision for like, okay, well, I'm here on a purpose?
You know, the real engine behind my career has always been making a real and positive impact. You see, the chance to create a meaningful shift in whatever I do gets me out of my bed every day. Whether that's tackling and overcoming challenges or hitting major goals, nothing beats seeing the results of our blood, sweat, and tears. Knowing that I've played a part, no matter how big or small, in making something better is what really kickstarts my drive and determination. So, knowing that I'm playing a part in a bigger picture, a larger goal, it lights a fire in me, fuels my every decision, and keeps me striving for the best, always.
Wow, quite inspiring. And with inspiration, I have to mention that, yeah, there might be a few colleagues, or I don't know how many other people who also seek inspiration from you. And from the inspiration part, I'd like to ask, do you really think that the technology sector has what it takes to enable women to break barriers of gender stereotype?
Absolutely, I do. I believe that the tech world has a lot of power when it comes to breaking down those old, outdated ideas about gender roles. And when we do that, we open the door to a diverse, equitable workforce. And how do we do that, as you ask? Well, I think a great starting place is things like mentorship programs. With these, we can give women the tools they need to thrive and excel in tech roles. We are also advocating for equal representation, making sure the voices of women are heard at the table loud and clear. That's definitely a big step in dismantling stereotype and reshaping this tech landscape.
No, absolutely. I completely agree. And I mean, what I see around me is also something which resonates with what you've said exactly right now. But let's discuss the society a bit. The society has evolved. And then the India where you have grown up has drastically changed. It's not the same. And what do you think of the current society and the current societal, the pace of change in society in India right now, especially with respect to women in the tech sector?
Oh, definitely. It's like night and day sometimes, isn't it? I mean, just looking at the strides made by women in the technology industry, it's downright inspiring. Let me put this into perspective. According to NASCOM, women now make up a whooping 34% of the Indian tech workforce. We are not talking small potatoes here. These are significant numbers that represent an incredible shift towards gender equality and empowerment. And it's not just about women venturing into tech, it's about them truly flourishing in these roles, which is incredibly promising to see. We are witnessing women standing shoulder to shoulder with their male counterparts, tackling codes, managing teams, you name it, they are there. And that's quite the leap from where we were a couple of decades back. But while we should celebrate these successes, we have got to remember there's still a road ahead. We have still got some mountains to climb. There are still barriers we need to break down, systematic ones that prevent everyone from having the same opportunities regardless of their gender. We have got some strong wind in our sails, but there's still some course to navigate before reaching that harbor of true equality. This isn't the time to rest, but to keep striving and pushing forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I agree in every bit of it. And yes, the society has changed, but we should be, contributing our little bit, our 2 cents to, to contribute towards the betterment, as we go ahead. Okay, now since we're towards the end of this conversation, I'd like to end with a fun question. If you were to share a dinner with a past or a present personality, so that who would that be, and what would you discuss with them?
Wow, what a question. If I had that golden opportunity, I would definitely choose to share a table with Reshma Sojani. I mean, have you heard of her? She's this amazingly forward thinking leader and entrepreneur who is doing some real game changing stuff. She has this undeniable strength, raw determination, and a mission to make the world a better place that I find truly appealing. You are looking at a woman who's not only taken the road less traveled, but has paved her own path along the way. She has dared to challenge norms and push boundaries, essentially forging the path for transformative, meaningful change. Can't help but respect that, right? For our colleagues in India who may not know much about Reshma, she has bagged titles like Forbes' Most Powerful Women Changing the World, Fortune's 40 Under 40, Wall Street Journal's Innovator of the Year, and Fast Company's 100 Most Creative People, etc., etc. And let's not forget, she was the first Indian American woman to run for US Congress. How cool is that? This woman is not all about talk, she is about action. When she noticed the glaring gender gap in computing classes during her campaign trail, she rolled up her sleeves and launched Girls Who Code. She's shown that coding isn't just about getting it right the first time. It's about trial and error, perseverance, and embracing imperfection. She styles it similar to magic, where you have to wave your magic wand a few times before you get it right. Just substitute the magic wand for code and voila. In her TED Talks, she spoke about something that really hit home for me: the bravery deficit in our society. She calls out the system for not raising our girls to be brave enough. Reshma points out how this has led to women being underrepresented in STEM, in leadership positions, really everywhere you look. The way she puts it, we are teaching girls to be perfect and boys to be brave. Now, that's a food for thought, right? Also, she has written this phenomenal book, Women Who Don't Wait in Line, where she champions a new model of female leadership rooted in taking risk and embracing failure. Look, we're living in technological revolution. Being part of this revolution, getting to see and experience it, that's a gift. Honestly, I can't think of anyone better to shoot the breeze about all of this with than Reshma Sojani. Imagine the insight flowing in.
So wow, that was quite an answer, Sudha, and I can clearly see that you're a big fan of Reshma Sajani. And to all our listeners, I'd like to also mention that Reshma is a very prolific speaker, thought leader, as well as she's just everywhere. And you could very easily search her videos on YouTube, and there's only things we can learn from her. She is quite truly, truly brilliant person. In this conversation, I think we also got to know so much about Sudha. So आपका मोटिवेशन, आपका इंस्पिरेशन, आपने कैसे कंपनी शुरू की, आप कैसे मैनेज करती हैं, कैसे हम आगे बढ़ रहे हैं, वगैरह वगैरह. It was wonderful. So thank you so much, Sudha, for being here. आज बड़ा मजा आया आपसे बात करके.
Thank you, Arak, for having me here.
So to all our listeners also, I'd like to thank, and if you have any of interesting topics or interesting guest to nominate, even if it matters to nominating yourself, you could very well just write to me or somehow try and get in touch with us. And then, share this podcast with other colleagues so they can also have some fun. Until then, bye-bye and take care of yourself.